Welcome back, viewers at home. Now, through her personal experience and insight, Mrs. South Africa semi-finalist Sinothile Kubu will challenge us to confront difficult questions about women's freedom, safety, and dignity in a country striving for justice and, most importantly, equality. Mrs. Sinothile, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
You know, funny enough, our conversation is it's very tense because of reality versus what we envision, what we think about, growing up as a little girl or just as a woman, envisioning your life. But I think my question to you tonight is, what would you say are the main obstacles to achieving true freedom and safety for women in South Africa?
Thank you for the question. From my perspective, what is the obstacle that's blocking women from achieving their true freedom? Um, Simple things like, sorry.
I know it's intense, but I get you. I feel you.
Yes. Day to day, feeling unsafe, being work, crime is a big issue. Um, Women don't feel, as much as we have the freedom to drive our cars and go to wherever we want to go to, but you worry about being hijacked as a woman. You don't feel safe driving at night. We worry that when we leave our homes secure, right? So as much as we do have our rights and freedoms to do whatever we want, we are constrained by social issues, social ills. That's why we're not able to fully enjoy our safety and freedom as women, for the fact that we are, as mothers, I'm a mother, I have to leave home and my kids have to go to school, I still have to worry that between leaving home and getting to school and from school and coming back, are they not going to be in an accident, hijacked? So it's those things that also impede us from fully enjoying our freedom as women.
Now, one thing for sure, our constitution is very celebrated. I mean, people go about it's the best constitution. But I think my question now is, do we need a broader cultural shift for us to start really tasting, or rather experiencing the beauties of that constitution?
South Africa has the best constitution. We fought for it. It took many years to put it together, a lot of bloodshed. And we all know that the constitution is there to protect women's dignity, In fact, every human's dignity, let's not even make it only about women. So on paper, it's fantastic, but without implementation, it becomes a problem. So if we don't have enforcement in ensuring that those constitutional rights are protected and implemented correctly, then we are not going to get to a point where we fully enjoy those freedoms that we are supposed to have. Culturally also, it can influence. I mean, there are certain cultures that advocate for women's safety as well. I cannot speak for other cultures, can only speak for the one that I grew up in. Women are, and I believe in almost everywhere else, with Zulus, maidens, when it's the reed dance, we can walk bare-breasted. It's pride in who we are. Women are encouraged to take care of themselves and preserve their virginity and take pride in their womanhood. So that also speaks of the men around them. Then it means those men actually respect that culture. They understand that the woman's nakedness is not an invite to invade her space, but they're respecting that based on that culture. So I do believe that such things in Constitution, if you have the rights to enjoy your culture as well, we can also embrace that aspect of the Zulu culture. It's very exemplimentary as well.
And the sad reality is that the rape of small girls, 3-year-olds, 8 months old, it brings back the thing of, it's not about even what you're wearing at this point. It's just that gender. And I think, speaking about man, what would you say in terms of, I believe you are an advocate for all things women and equality and freedom and so forth. I think my question now is, what can men do to support this cause?
Firstly, we need men to be conscientized um, about in this pandemic that we currently have. It is a pandemic, you know. We need to be educated. They need to also protect and be aware and speak about it within their circles. They not only need to speak about it, but they need to also protect it, live it. You cannot be okay with a friend making a sexualized joke um, about women, you know, or something offensive, and not call them out. It starts within your community. So if you are not able to correct the person next to you, then we have a problem. Let it not be for show, but let it be a principle that you live by. It also speaks about your values as a person. If you are a person who finds it okay to laugh in the corners, but speak something else when you're outside, you are equally just as bad because you're advocating for such unjust acts.
You know, coming back to speaking about unjust acts and taking a look at gender-based violence, and I want to use a story of Ukwekwe because I know that she has a mom, she has a dad, and siblings in that sense, is that in an instance like this, you find that the mother is the one who is seen talking about this, and yet the father is like behind the scenes. And I think many can argue to say, at the end of the day, when we're doing investigation, he is potentially a suspect. Not to say he is a suspect, but because of the fact that, a male is a suspect in the sense, it doesn't root him out. And I think many men become so uncomfortable at the conversation of gender-based violence because they're either too scared to say anything or either too scared to engage in anything, reasons known only to them, because most times we have these conversations as women. As someone who advocates for women, what do you think, or how can men in that instance become allies to all things regarding addressing gender-based violence?
Like you did say, it's a very sensitive topic, very difficult one, but I think we should never lose sight of the fact that women, um, so especially in Kwekwe's mom's case, she took on that role to be the speaker, because why society does expect women to be the caregiver, you know. And when anything happens to a woman, more times, to a child, more times than not, they ask, where's the mom? It's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we should start looking at it as a community project. We grew up saying that it takes a community to raise a child, right? So it should not be a mom thing per se, but it should be a family thing. It should be a neighbor thing. It should be a society thing, that we look out for each other's kids. It cannot be that, life has now demanded that we as women wake up every day and go to work. So you cannot be everywhere at once. We do also have that guilt complex of not being there enough at home for the kids, but you also need to provide. Now, we cannot split ourselves up as women. I know we always say empowerment, you want people to be independent, but how about we go back to the family unit, and so that we do have our, our sisters and brothers also taking accountability and looking after our kids, so that we have a healthy home. I actually advocate more than anything else to make sure that we have a nuclear home, because the moment we have a strong home where everyone is present and active, that way kids are protected. I did see someone who said something that was very profound. They said kids who are targeted are normally kids whom parents are busy and distracted, and it's just so unfortunate that life is expensive and it expects both mom and dad to be working. Therefore, no one is there fully. We depend on each other. We depend on aftercare to take care of the kids. We depend on the uncles to take the kids from school to home, you know. So there's a lot of interlinkedness that happens that also contributes. You cannot be a standalone person and raising a kid. You need your neighbor, you need the school, you need society as a whole to partake in in assisting, because at the end of the day, when you raise that kid is going to go out to the world. And if we are going to live in silos, we're going to continue having these problems. It is just very unfortunate that most of the time things end up being a finger pointing instead of us doing introspection and asking, while I was here, why wasn't I able to see that this kid is now vulnerable? You know, how about I become a protector as well for that child while either their mom is not there? And let's be realistic, some kids find themselves in broken homes where it's just the mom alone, or maybe the mom and dad are no longer there and granny is there to take care of those kids. And she cannot necessarily be everywhere. So if we can bring back community and back each other up, then I do believe that our kids will be protected. We'll have a much more happier, healthier society where we are mindful of everyone else's challenges, and then we will put in our contributions where we can.
Amazing and well said. Just in closing, to close off our conversation, unfortunately we have run out of time, is how can we sustain this conversation and prevent complacency and turn outrage into lasting change?
Thank you for that one as well. Okay, from my perspective, the rage is very necessary initially to gain the momentum and bring awareness to an issue. However, like you said, we need to start having concrete things that can be done to make sure that it's not just a hashtag and it ends there after a week or once the hype has died. So it means on our end, if we could get assistance, like I said, community come together, police should need to start now. Whatever case they get, it should be a priority, right? How about in this instance, with this hashtag that's currently trending, everyone backs up and so we can find a solution. It's very disheartening. You can imagine being a victim and never getting closure. Unfortunately, more than normal, there are a lot of people who never get closure. In fact, these cases, like you said, they end up fading into nothingness. So I'm sitting here asking that, can we have that input from everyone? And actually, this must actually be put in as a priority so that we can still now bring in that hope that criminals or perpetrators don't feel invincible. We're too worried about the red tape and we never get to a conclusion. Can maybe just this once we actually have a positive income that will instill back that faith and hope that there is still justice can be served. No matter the politics around it, we're trying to shift away from the politics, but we're just trying to bring back and rebuild our society in such a difficult time that we're going through, and bringing hope that, you know what, even if I'm wronged, maybe there will be justice one day and our kids will feel safe. So just this one example, can it please have a beautiful ending to it, that one that will instill the hope like we mentioned.
Mrs. Kubu, thank you so much, for joining us and really enlightening us on, all things regarding, freedom for women. What does that even look like and how we can attain it? And I think what you shared is something that we can sort of try and implement in our communities, and actually starts from our mindset to say, let us be mindful, let us shape our minds in terms of working against gender-based violence. But thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for your time.
Viewers at home, that was the advocate for women who is Mrs. South Africa semi-finalist, Sinothile Kubu, sharing in her thoughts and her take on all things regarding gender-based violence and what a free South Africa can potentially look like. But for now, let's head over to a net break. See you just after this.